Hey folks, got to put on the serious hat for a very funny movie, Mon Oncle. You know, back a while ago when we had the idea of putting this show on for you at the Movies with Philm, we called it Operation Mon Oncle. And it was sort of in tribute to one of our favorite films, believe it or not. Jacques Tati, one of the great comedians of all time, follows in the tradition of Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. Made this film in 1958. It actually won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Picture of that year. Jacques Tati, very interesting figure. Didn't make that many movies, only a handful. Spent a lot of time on his films. Financing was a difficult thing for him, and he was very much of a perfectionist. Being in the mode of visual humor as Buster Keaton, he also uses sound really well. This film is a remarkable film for the matching or the working together of image plus sound. Now, the pedigree of this film. I was just looking back over the pedigree of this film. I sort of went through the credits and looked at what other people had done. It's amazing, the connection that good filmmakers tend to make. The connections that we're going to find largely connect this man to Orson Welles, Jean Cocteau, and Louis Malle. For instance, Louis d'Olivet, the producer of this film, Jean Bourguin, the cinematographer, and Carré were all workers on Orson Welles' Mr. Arcadin. Likewise, Susan Barron, who is the editor of this film, worked on a lion's share of the early Louis Malle films. So, got a nice pedigree. I always like to look at that pedigree. It's always interesting to see who works on a movie. And of course, Tati, being the master that he is going to collect about him the best personnel. Now, this film fits into the, well, Mr. or Monsieur Hulot series of films that basically started early on with this little, well, you remember the Chaplin had the tramp. Buster Keaton had sort of the pale-faced one with the pork pie hat that he always portrayed. Mr. Hulot is this to Tati's figure. He's a man in a trench coat with a pipe. Doesn't say much. Does say very little at all. Most of his humor is very visual and sound effect oriented. The theme of this film, there's a lot of themes, but one of the themes that you might want to look for is watch those dogs at the beginning of the film and at the end of the film. Watch how those dogs, for instance, wander all over the place, doing things that, well, are sort of disruptive, going to the bathroom on garbage pails and running out of the lines at the beginning and the end. However, watch the way that the people in the film feel compelled to follow order, follow lines. And Mr. Hulot, sort of sympathetic with the dog world, is one who has trouble fitting into this highly mechanistic society that is, well, growing and sort of supplanting the old world order. And Hulot, who through his relationship with his nephew, the Arpels, and their parents, his parents, the kids' parents, sort of show you the interface of two different cultures, old world, new world. Well, this happens to be one of my favorite comedies. I was just talking to a student of mine who had just seen it. I was talking about that. It reminded her of Monty Python type of humor. It does. It is a film that I routinely watch. I probably watch it 2 or 3 times a semester. Love this movie. I'm going to dedicate this film. Don't do too many dedications. I'm going to dedicate this film to all the film students that I've had in the past. I think you know why. Mon Oncle, give it some time. It's not the kind of humor that you're going to be sitting slapping your sides all the time. You might not be laughing out loud all the time, but certainly the humor here is quite complex and simple at the same time. That's the beauty. He's sort of a Taoist comedian, if you will, going the way, letting nature's way dictate. Myself, if you were watching this film with me, you'd have some troubles controlling me because there are scenes in here where I am rolling in the aisles. That scene with the dog under the table and the fish in the basket, well, say no more, say no more. as they would say in Monty Python. Well, great film, Mon Oncle. If you like this film, I'd turn you on to some other films. Playtime, the film that followed after this, quite a few years after this. Playtime is his masterpiece. Mon Oncle, I'd rank right up there with it. Well, folks, enjoy the movie. Mon Oncle. Roll 'em, Smokey.